Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center is making news tonight after publishing a controversial new list. This is the same group that once put presidential candidate and famed neurosurgeon, pediatric neurosurgeon, Dr. Ben Carson on the same extremist list as the KKK. This time, the SPLC has compiled a rundown of what it says are, quote, the most hardline anti-Muslim women activists in the country. And among them, some very familiar faces. Our next guest says his group was targeted by a crazed gunman after this same group, the SPLC, did something similar a couple of years ago. Tony Perkins is the president of the Family Research Council. He's with us now by phone because we had some problems with his satellite hookup. Tony, thank you for being here. And so the Family Research Council was dubbed an extremist hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And then the man who came in and shot up your organization and shot a guard later said what?
Well, he actually confessed in federal court that he received the information on who to target and where to find us through the Southern Poverty Law Center with their help, using their website. And, 3 years later, there is rarely a day goes by that those who walk through our front door under the words of faith, family, and freedom are not reminded of this SPLC-inspired shooting. Now, it takes time for people to get through the trauma of seeing one of their coworkers shot, who literally risked his own life to save his coworker. This guy had over 100 rounds of ammunition. But we're seeing the same type of thing play out, Megan, in South Carolina. The key to overcoming the trauma is forgiveness. And I think that's what's important, is that we see these folks are forgiven. We forgive them, hold no bitterness. But I do believe we have an obligation to speak out and prevent organizations like this from putting other people at risk, like they've done to these women. They've put them on a hit list.
That's exactly what Judicial Watch said. They came out and described this as a starter kit for jihadists. And if you look at even the photos, well, the drawings, the artist's renderings of the women, we didn't have a full screen made, so apologies for this, but this is just sort of my rough notes that my producers gave me. You can see, look what they do. They try to demonize the photos of people like Brigitte Gabriel and Coulter. You can see her there and so on, trying to make them look as terrifying as possible. And real damage could come to these women as a result of this portrayal and this imagery they're trying to paint.
Look, you want to talk, Megan, about a war on women? The Southern Poverty Law Center has created this jihadist list by marking these 12 women. And these 12 have something in common. Yes, they're all women, but they're all conservative. And they all have spoken out not against Islam, but against radical Islam that abuses and kills women. Some of these women, like Brigitte, has experienced this firsthand as she grew up in Lebanon. You've got former police officers, investigators, CIA officers who know what they're talking about. And I have to ask this question: what legitimate civil rights organization would try to intimidate and silence women? They wouldn't. But that's something the Taliban would do.
Tony, thank you for being here. We apologize about the technological issues. Joining me now to react is Richard Fowler, a nationally syndicated radio host. Richard, is this right?
Well, I think what the Southern Poverty Law Center was trying to point out was that hatred, no matter where it is wrong. I think Martin Luther King said it best. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I think that is what the Southern Poverty Law Center tries to do in all their research, whether they speak out against bigotry, whether they speak out against hatred, but they also talk about teaching tolerance. And I think that's what's missing from this conversation. Tolerance
of, let's say, the Christian beliefs that Dr. Ben Carson held before they labeled him an extremist and put him on their hate list?
But, Megan, let's think about why they called out Dr. Ben Carson. They called him out because of his homophobic views about the LGBTQ community. That's why he was called out.
About his biblical views that he holds as a Christian. They put him on a hate list, Richard. The man who spent his life saving the lives of little children.
I get that. I understand where you're coming from.
Counts for nothing. He's a hater. He's an extremist.
But the larger point here, Megan, is what the Southern Poverty Law Center is trying to say is you can believe whatever you would like to believe. I think our Constitution allows us to do that. But when you use the cloak of religion and your influence to hate against an entire group of people because you feel that it's okay, that's downright wrong.
And so, I mean, would you say the same about radical Muslims, self-radicalized Muslims.
Exactly. I would say the exact same thing, but there's a distinction, I think we don't make this enough in the media,
What's that?
Between radicalized Muslims and the Islamic faith. Millions, billions rather, of Muslims live peacefully in this country, but sadly they've been lumped in, whether it be by Ann Coulter or by Ms. Geller, as radicalized or radical, and they're not. And you're hating on their entire religion because you hate a small subset of their religion,
Richard,
and that is outright wrong. That is the same justification.
They attack several women on here. I don't know
that is the same justification.
No, let me speak. They attack several women on here who have been critical of radical Islam. Radical. Not all Muslims. And you tell me, does that make you an extremist who belongs on a hate list?
Well, no, but here's the point that the Southern Law Center is trying to make is what they justify is saying that just because the Black Panther Party hates all white people, it means that I hate all white people, and that's just not true. And I think that's part of the problem.
Did you really? Is that what everybody said? Did you go through? Did you go through and review all the comments at issue?
But that's what they justify.
And you know what the source is?
That's exactly what they
You know what the source they used for their condemnations of these women? Oh,
when you
Media
go
Matters.
around
Oh, so
and
reliable.
you make fun of an entire religion,
websites that hate these women to begin with,
and
Richard.
you speak out against the Muslim faith because you have a problem with a small subset of Muslims, that is spreading hate. And they use the cloak of religion, they use the Bible, and they use the cross to do it, and that's downright wrong, Megan.
Why isn't it just using what they did? Why isn't it just saying, I have a problem with radical Islam because, like we're going to show in tomorrow night's special, those who follow it behead people, including
Megan, but you've proved the point that I've been trying to make.
And now what is it? What do they do? The women who speak out about it, they get put on the hate list. Here's their crazy clown renderings.
That's exactly the point I'm trying to make. We should speak out against terrorism. We should speak out against Al-Qaeda.
But if you do,
we should speak out. Wait a minute. No. There's a distinction. What Ms. Geller did was a huge distinction. You could speak out against terrorism and ISIS without speaking out or condemning the entire religion.
Judge Janine Pirro,
little activity was condemning the entire religion. And that is downright wrong.
Now it's my turn.
And you know it.
Now it's my turn. Judge Janine Pirro is on that list because she had on a guest who said something crazy for which she was caught off guard by on the air. Then she later came out and apologized for it. What is she doing on that list?
I'm not talking about Judge Pirro. I'm talking specifically about
You're
Ms.
defending
Geller.
the list. This is a careless organization that cares not at all about the safety of the people it condemns.
That's wrong, Megan. It's a call to careless organization. They've condemned the KKK. They've done expansive work on condemning the KKK, as well as the Black Panther Party, as well as groups that speak hate and groups that inspired folks like Darren Wolf to go into a church and massacre 9 innocent black people.
One of their big sources is CARE. Do you think the Southern Poverty Law Center is concerned about the hate coming from CARE, which supports Hamas?
This is the thing, Megan. I think when you look at this debate,
what's your answer to that?
When you look at this debate, after what we saw last week, there's way too much hate in America.
Answer that question.
And the only way we're going to correct it is by having honest conversations about this.
No, we're not doing that. You're not either answer the question or let's end. Do you think that the Southern Poverty Law Center has condemned CARE? And what many have documented as its support for Hamas, which the U.S. recognizes as a terrorist organization?
Well, listen, I'm not saying the Southern Poverty Law Center does everything right. No organization does everything right, Megan. But the point of the matter here is you can't mix the two.
Okay. Great to see you.
Good to see you too, Megan.
I love Richard. I do, genuinely. He's great. But wow. Okay, up next, the case involving an illegal immigrant charged in connection with the death of a popular Oklahoma TV sports anchor and why it is leading to so much outrage.